Hi, my name's Sage, and welcome to the latest Garden Gateway Cooking and Nutrition Workshop. In today's video, we're going to be going over a couple of tips and tricks for how to keep your veggies fresh and long-lasting. And then we're going to review how to make a delicious lentil soup that is full of awesome veggies and immune-boosting power. So to get started, we're going to go over some ways to keep your veggies fresh. Onions can last up to 4 weeks if stored properly. They like being stored in a mesh bag or open basket if it's in a cool, dry place, such as a garage or dark pantry or even a basement. Another great tip for storing onions is to pre-cut them and then just keep them in your fridge for whenever you want to use them. This is also a great tip for cutting down on cooking time, especially in the middle of really busy weeks. So I'm just going to dice up this onion. And you can cut it however you want, but if you prefer them in rings or cut up even smaller, you can do that too. Just gonna give everything another cut. And then this is great because you can just plop them in a Tupperware or any kind of plastic container, toss them in the fridge, and then they'll keep really great and they'll be ready for whenever you want to use them. So similar to onions, garlic actually does great stored in the fridge also. And there's a couple different ways we can do this. You can just take out the individual cloves and then peel them and plop them in a jar. So I'm just breaking apart this garlic. And I won't show all of it, but what you do is you just cut off the ends and you can squash it a little bit to help peel it. So you'll take your peeled pieces and just plop them in a jar and store them in the fridge. Alternatively, you can plop the peeled garlic into a blender with some olive oil and then put that in a jar in the fridge, and then you can have that ready for when you need a saute and just like take spoonfuls of that and toss it in your pan or even on like some bread. So that's a really great way to store garlic. Garlic does keep for a long time, but this is super helpful also just in shortening cooking time and having your items prepared. And the last tip we're going to review is how to store your leafy greens or herb bunches. So this is a really simple and really pretty tip if you are buying your greens from a farmer's market or from a store, or if you're harvesting them yourself, you usually bundle them up. And so what you're going to do is just chop off the edges like that, so you get a clean cut, and then you're going to fill up some water and then put your bunch right into the water. And you want to have it so that it's just like the tips of their stems are in the water, and it makes like a really pretty bouquet. So you can do this with herbs, you can do it with all kinds of leafy greens. This is kale, goes great for collards, spinach. And then this keeps them fresh for up to 2 weeks, which is really awesome because leafy greens are really the item in my fridge that goes bad the fastest. So it also adds like a really fun, like it looks like a bouquet, it's kind of festive, and it'll keep your veggies fresh for longer. So it's a really awesome trick and super easy to incorporate. Now that we've gone over some tips and tricks for keeping your veggies fresh, we're gonna start on our cleaning out the fridge soup. And the soup got its name because it's a great way to incorporate things in your fridge that are less than fresh. So limp, kind of old carrots, sprouting potatoes, moldy onions, kind of sad limp kale. Those find new life in this soup because the flavors and the mix of all the vegetables really come together to create a really great tasting soup. So we went ahead and already pre-cut our veggies. So we have 1 medium onion chopped. We have 4 cloves of garlic, about 1/3 or 1/4 inch of ginger, but you can do as much ginger as you want. We diced up 3 carrots, 3 stalks of celery, and about 4 small potatoes. And these are gonna be the main ingredients of our soup. If you don't like any of these, you don't have to add them. Also, if you have other veggies in your fridge that you're looking to use, toss them right in. Everyone is welcome in this soup. And with that, we're going to get started on actually cooking. So let's go. Okay, so the cook time for this soup is about an hour 15 minutes, and if that's including prep and cooking. And so if you have less time on your hands, a really great way to cut down on cooking time is by soaking your lentils. So in this recipe, we're using green lentils, but you can use whatever lentils you have. Red lentils also go really well. And so to soak them, what you're gonna need to do is get a big bowl, because lentils will expand a bit as they soak in that water. And you're gonna need enough water to make sure that the lentils are completely covered. So we have about 2 cups of lentils and this is maybe about 5 cups of water, but I put some water in the bowl ahead of time because you wanna make sure they're totally covered. So we're just gonna go ahead and pour our lentils right into the bowl and then cover it with more water. And when we do this, it begins the sprouting process. And so that is going to transform the enzymes and increase the availability of nutrients. So it's a great way to get even more nutrients out of our lentils. And lentils are a great thing to add into any diet. They're full of proteins and a bunch of nutrients our body needs. So as you can see here, we have some lentils floating at the top, and most of them are at the bottom. And you're gonna wanna soak them for about like an hour, maybe 2 hours. Green lentils don't need to soak as long as something like black beans or garbanzo beans need to, but the longer you soak them, the faster they'll cook. So it's really up to you and how much you think ahead and how much like counter space you have. And so all of our lentils are at the bottom, and we're just gonna let them sit unbothered for a while until we need them in the recipe. Another thing when working with lentils, regardless of who you're buying them from, it's always good to sort them. Sometimes there's small pebbles or other kind of debris in the lentils. So when you're either before you pour them into the water or after, just separate out anything that's not a lentil. So now we're going to start sauteing our veggies. All right, to get started, we are going to get the heat going on like a low simmer just to get things heated up. And we're gonna start off by adding some coconut oil. We're gonna add about 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. And if you don't have coconut oil, you can substitute with olive oil or your oil of choice. Now that the coconut oil is pretty much melted, we're going to add in some fresh cumin seeds. Now, cumin seeds aid in digestion, and they also add warm, kind of earthy flavor. So I really like cooking with them, and especially adding them in first helps to like really get the most of their flavor. So I'm gonna add about 1 tablespoon, and then another, about a little bit more, not fully 2. Then we're gonna add in some black peppercorns. I love to use them whole in stews and soups because all the simmering allows their flavor to really come out. But if you don't have whole, then ground works perfectly fine too. So I'm gonna add about a tablespoon, throw that in. Black pepper is high in antioxidants, and it may help lower cholesterol. So before that burns, we're going to add in the onions. Just give it a toss. And we're gonna be cooking the onions until they're see-through. Toss everything, make sure it's coated, make sure nothing's burning. So we have our onions in the pot, and we just put the cover on top of them to encourage the heat to build up in the pot and help the onions cook faster. And we're gonna cook them until they're translucent and soft. And so that'll take a couple minutes, and we just add those in first before the ginger and garlic so that the onions can really build up their flavor and allow them to cook fully without the danger of the garlic or ginger burning. So we're gonna let this sit for a minute, checking on it to make sure nothing's burning. And next we're gonna add in the garlic and ginger. So we just added in our garlic and onions, and now we want to give it a good stir, make sure they get covered in oil too. And a big part of this recipe and cooking in general is going by how things smell. So the onions look ready, and we could also tell they were ready in the room because they smell so sweet right now. And especially with the cumin, it's giving off just such like a really earthy, smoky, yummy smell. I don't know how else to describe it. So if you're cooking this at home and you're wondering if you're doing it right, if it smells good, you're doing it right. And now we're just gonna let that sit for a couple more minutes until you start smelling the ginger and the garlic, and then we're gonna add in the potatoes. Now I'm just adding in lots of the potatoes. And after you add in the potatoes, you wanna make sure you give everything a good stir so that you make sure the potatoes are covered in the oil so that they cook faster. You see that the potatoes are covered in oil, the onions are cooked through, and we're seeing the cumin, they're not burnt, they're just kind of toasted. So this is looking really good. This is how it should look at this point. We want to continue sauteing the potatoes so they get softer, because the potatoes are really what's gonna cook the longest. While that's going, we're going to add in the rest of the spices. So our potatoes are sauteing, and we put the lid on just to help them saute faster, get softer. And so we used red potatoes in our recipe, but this recipe is really great because it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. You can really use whatever kind of potato you have at home. Russet's great, golden's great, even the sweet potato. I've tried it with sweet potato and it's really tasty. So if you don't have red, don't worry about it. And if you don't like potatoes, don't add them in. It's really whatever you want and whatever you have on hand. So now we're gonna go over the rest of the spices that we're gonna add. So, of course, some salt. And we're gonna be salting as we go instead of adding a lot at any given point. So I'm just gonna throw in a little salt right now. Also gonna give this a stir. All right, we added in our salt, and now we're gonna add in some other spices, and also take what we suggest and change it based off what you like. So I really like spicy food. I like making the soup a little spicy. If you don't like spicy food, you can definitely tone it down on some of the spicier ingredients we're gonna add. So first up, we have some turmeric. Turmeric's gonna give it a good color. We went over in a different video how awesome turmeric is. It's anti-inflammatory, full of antioxidants. It's really great for our immune system. We're going to add, let's see, we have our handy little measurements. We're going to add about a teaspoon. So really not that much turmeric at all. That much. And toss it in there. Next we have some ground paprika. Paprika is gonna really add on to the earthy flavor. This paprika is a little spicy, it adds a nice little kick to it. I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of paprika. You can add as much as you want. I'm gonna add a little bit more. We're adding in all of the spices right now, but also you can, it's not like this is the only point that you can add spices. It is just a really nice point because it's when everything's kind of sitting and cooking. Next we have garam masala, and this was actually made here at CSU fresh, and even through my mask it smells so good. I love garam masala, so I'm gonna add at least half a tablespoon, probably more as we keep cooking. It does add a little kick to it, so if you don't like spicy things, I would just add less garam masala. Before we keep going, I'm gonna give everything a good stir. Make sure everything's getting covered. And I'll show you what it's looking like now. If you can see that, it's getting a little bit more orangey. You can see kind of the specks of the garam masala, the paprika, and the faint orange color is from the turmeric. And it smells really good right now. So that's what it looks like right now. If it looks like this, you're doing a great job. So here we have some cayenne pepper. Like I said, I like cayenne, so I'm gonna add at least half a tablespoon. for some spice. But it is spicy, especially the cayenne we sell at the Village Marketplace. It really packs a punch. So if you don't like spicy, I would go light with the cayenne. Again, you want to make sure you are mixing everything in. And I actually kind of underspiced there. I'm definitely going to be spicing as I cook, especially at home. I taste my food. If I'm going to be tasting it here, I'm going to be careful to use like a clean spoon and everything. But tasting your food and spicing as you go is a great way to make sure that you have the flavor balance that you really are looking for. And I tend to underspice at the beginning just so I don't make things too salty or out of control spicy. And that's just like a simple cooking tip. So we've had our potatoes cooking for around 5 minutes, and now we're going to add in the celery and carrots, and we're going to add them in now before the broth or water to help build up the layers of flavor in our soup. Just like before, we're going to go in and give everything a good mix to make sure the carrots and celery are covered in the spices and that none of the spices are burning at the bottom of our pan. Now we're going to add our water. Today we're going to be adding about 4 cups of water, but if you want to add vegetable broth or chicken broth, beef broth, you're more than welcome. Just one thing to be cautious with the broths is that they usually have salt in them, so just when you're adding spices, just keep that in mind so that you're not over salting. But super simple, just going to take our water and pour it in. Then give things a stir. And now we're going to toss in our lentils, maybe add a bit more water if we need to, and turn up the heat for a second and have it boil for about a minute or 2. And then again, we're going to give it a good stir. So at this point in the recipe, you have the option to add in some coconut milk. I really love cooking with coconut milk because it adds like a layer of sweetness and just like thickens up the soup and adds just layers of flavor. Coconut milk also has some really great health benefits. It helps balance out our electrolytes. It has antioxidants and is really good for gastrointestinal health. So we're just right near the end of cooking. We're going to add it in and then let it simmer for a bit. And then we're going to add in some chopped kale and we'll be good to go. So you can see it's like pretty creamy, really delicious. This is unsweetened. There's a bunch of different types of coconut milk you can use, but they're all really delicious. And if you've never cooked with coconut milk before, this is a great recipe to try it in. And it's really simple. You just add it right in. You don't have to change anything else about the recipe. And if you don't have coconut milk handy or you don't want to try it out, it's super easy to leave it out too. So this soup cooks for just under an hour, and a great way to tell if things are done is to just check in on them. So your carrots should be really easy to cut through, which they are. Same with the potatoes. We don't want crunchy potatoes. We want soft potatoes, and these are very soft. They're still holding their form, but they give away easily under the knife. And then the real test for if your soup is ready or not are the lentils. And those are a little bit more tricky to test, but you can either just pop them in your mouth, and if they're crunchy, they still need time. So we're going to just hold the lentil and pierce it with our fingernail. And it's definitely still a little bit too firm for the soup to be done. So we have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, so our soup has been simmering for a while now, and this is what it looks like. It looks pretty creamy, and it has like a dark brown color to it. It's exactly how we want it to be. Now what we're gonna do We've already opened up our coconut milk and we're just going to toss it right in. Gonna do the whole can. And at this point, you can also add more water or more broth if your soup is looking a little bit too thick. The lentils do expand as you cook them, so it might need just a little bit more liquid in there. Now we're gonna let this simmer for another 4 minutes, just to let the flavors expand and for the lentils to cook all the way through. And this is what it looks like now. You can see that the coconut milk changed the color, it made it kind of lighter, and it definitely changed the flavor. So we actually haven't tried it yet. We've been going off look, and I'm super excited to try this. It smells really good. So there are only a few more minutes left of cooking, so we're going to toss in our chopped kale so it can soften up. So our soup is done cooking. Now we're just going to serve it up in a bowl so we can get a closer look. And as your soup is finishing up cooking, you can really add in anything you want. So in the past, I've added tomatoes at this point. I added kale. You could add a different kind of leafy green. It's really, like we said earlier, a choose your own adventure kind of soup. And whatever you have floating around will probably go really well with this soup. So as you can see, it looks really creamy. The carrots give it a really nice color, and so does the kale. It's really full of lentils, so the lentils really do expand. We added 2 cups. You can add more or less depending on your needs. And we have a lot of soup. So if you have like a large family of 4 to 5, or just a house of 4 to 5 people, this one pot of soup can definitely feed everyone. And then if you live alone or just in a house with fewer people, then you'll have leftovers for a couple days. And this soup does hold up really well. It lasts for at least a week if it's stored like in a pot or an airtight container in your refrigerator. Thank you so much for tuning in to the latest Garden Gateway cooking and nutrition workshop. This was a super fun recipe to cook, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you do try out this recipe, then let us know how it went. Tag us in your photos on Instagram or send us a message at ggw@csuinc.org. If this is your first time checking out our channel, be sure to check out the rest of our videos. We have a lot of content from the 2020-2021 Garden Gateway season, and there's more to come. So be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We come out with new content every month, and check out our Instagram and website for so much more. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.